Hi, my name is Jerry. I was born in Nigeria, from Nigeria, of course. I'm from Benue State. I was born in Boko, Nigeria. Growing up in Nigeria was a very interesting thing because Nigeria is a tough place. If you grow in Nigeria, you know that you would have to really stand your ground to be successful in Nigeria. First of all, I had a university education, and before that, I had a business. So I used to run my business for the duration of my schooling. So while I was in school, I had a business. Shuffled between Lagos and Benue State, which is where I lived. So I had my places where I went to get business materials, and sometimes I would go back to Benue State to make sales and then set up my business centers, which I had, and then back to Lagos and back to. And eventually I moved to Abuja. In Abuja is a very competitive place as well because there are lots of people in Abuja. The population is very high. So for you to succeed in Abuja, you have to be on your game. After a few years after my schooling, I stopped my business and I went full-time into insurance. So I sold life insurance for 8 years before I decided let me take on this journey and come get the master's degree because I think the time is now better than ever. So growing up in Nigeria, pretty tough, pretty exciting. We have lots of friends, lots of family. But it's actually a very good experience, and I really had fun in Nigeria. Lots of friends, lots of family. And in the Nigerian climb, what we do is that everybody in your village is a brother. You don't have people in your village that are just people you know, they are brothers. So you have responsibility to your whole community. So whenever you have an event, let's say a wedding, you have lots of guests, and whenever anything going on in your life, lots of people are always aware because they keep track of you. And so we have a very social life, pretty social, and living in Nigeria is pretty interesting. To me, I feel time is a measure of past, present, and future, because life in itself, you cannot put a gauge and measure, okay, from now. But if you know that the past and the future and present, if you can gauge it, that's actually what time is. And time is interesting because it never stops. It's always moving. And you could actually throw your life away by procrastinating and just wasting a little time, you know. And it's very important that you have a grasp of time, and it's very important. But where I'm from, unlike here, I think people don't prioritize time, sadly. But being here is pretty exciting because I see the importance of time. And there's a saying that I have right now, which I take seriously. It's that ground is being careful with your time because you don't have forever. That's the reason why dogs are very happy, because they have a short span of life, so they want to make judicious use of their life. So that's time for me. Life is the absence of death. If you're dead, you're not alive. So it's about the present, the breath you have, and for the fact that you're living, it's a very important aspect of life. For me, I feel life is living, giving, living for others, and trying as much as possible to be responsible with the time you have, because life is measured in time. You cannot live forever. Obviously, we're not immortal. So one has to really and in my life, I've lost family members, so I understand that we don't have forever. We have some time in this life, and one has to take it seriously and do as much of what you're here for. Actually, most of us, we don't know what we're here for. So death is the end of life. It's the end. It's where all life ceases to exist. And to me, I feel if you die, it's not the worst that can happen. But some people die before they die. Death is not always the end of life, but it could be the end of life. Life in itself is living. It's being alive. If your life is like you're dead, you're always drunk, you don't even know that you're alive. It's almost like being dead. So it's not only when you die, like when you're officially dead, biologically, that you're dead. You could actually be dead long before you die. So death can be sad, because if you've lost a loved one, you'd understand that you never get to see that person, and it's something that you have to really take seriously, because we can't live forever. So Death is the end of everything. Once you die, that's the end. About death, death is just like the Lake Chad in my country. The Lake Chad, every year, it actually, when there's a rainy season, the river gets the lake gets very big. It expands in size and in depth. But what happens is that in Nigeria, we have the dry season where the rain stops to fall and everywhere gets very dry. At that point, it's like death. Everything begins to shrink. It's like if you see someone who's 110 years old, they actually are shrunk. They don't have so much life. Their skin start to shrivel. They have, so it's like death. And when the lake shrinks, at that point, it's not very deep and it cannot carry as much fishes. So actually, everything goes down. What was very high is now very low. What was good was bad. Life is good, death is bad. And just like Lake Chad, it's full, and now at some point it gets very shallow. Infinity is uncountable. You cannot count. Most times infinity is used to tell time, but there are lots of infinite things that are infinity. Example, like counting sand. If you're given the task to count the sand of the earth, I think you cannot count it. So that's a very good example of infinity, because it's like a no end. And it's actually a time that we cannot comprehend, because we cannot comprehend how time is going to go into infinity, because there's no ending. And anything that doesn't have an end is quite scary, because I don't think anybody would want to be in that kind of a loop where it just doesn't ever end, where you're spinning, But it's quite interesting, infinity. To me, it's just time that something you cannot comprehensively count. You can't put a number to it. So you cannot say the total sand of the earth is 8 trillion, billion, zillion. There's no count. So it's something you cannot comprehensively count. That's infinity. Wow, existence. So it's actually purpose of life. Why are we here? Most times it's very hard. Even as a person, I don't think as a society, as a world, it's very hard to tell. But as a person, most times we're trying to find, why are we here as a person? What's your purpose on earth? And what can you do very well? And it's very hard to actually figure that out. Most times people don't know who they are until they turn maybe 50. Some people find out early, some people never find out what they are here for. But I believe that we're here as a race because we're here for other people. If your life is not helping, it's not for helping people, it's not for doing things for people, then your life is empty. Without family, without your community, it's no life. And you can imagine if you have everything you ever wanted. Let's say I want the Lamborghini, the big mansions, everything, and there's nobody on the earth. I can drive anywhere, I can fly anywhere. It will really be sad. So life is about people, it's about helping people, serving people, being there for people, your family, your friends, your neighbors, your society, your country. I think to me that's what it's about. That's what we're here for, even though we're not sure. But at least we can play a part in trying to be responsible with the people we encounter every day. Honestly, I have to be really honest. I don't know. It's a very deep question. I think if you want to sit down and think about the whole universe, it's like trying to figure out why birds fly. They just fly. You can fly. It's so hard. It's difficult to actually place a finger why the universe, why there's Jupiter, Mars, Earth, and then why we don't know why we can't live in Jupiter and we live on Earth. It's so hard to bring it all together. But of course, scientists will try to tell you that the universe was created by mistake. So you can say, okay, maybe it's by mistake. But you can still say, okay, God created the universe because He wants us to, live to please Him. I think it's both ways. As a Christian, I know that God created the universe because God is God. He wanted it, so He made it for His own pleasure. I think that's what the universe is for God. Information is having data, like facts of life. It's transmission of facts. something that's learned. If I get to know that the weather is getting very warm and a friend is traveling back to Russia, I'll tell him it's getting warm. That's information. And in life, every year, every time, there's always new information about what's happening in the world. 10 years ago, more than 10 years, 15 years ago, there was no YouTube, no Instagram. Today we have all that. It's just new information. Every day new things change, new things come, and as life goes, it changes, and those changes are actually information. Because as a biologist, there's this saying that in the next 100 years, maybe human beings will not have hands because we operate our phones, that their hands is going to shrink. So eventually, hopefully, it doesn't happen. But I think information is, if that happens, you have to be told, okay, your hand is going to shrink. So I think information is the fact. If it's, and there's information, people talk about aliens all the time. It's actually not fact because you cannot prove that. So information is fact, and fact is what is real and what is conveyed, what people know, what people learn. And to me, that is what information is. And information is very important because if you're using your simple phone, which everybody has a phone, now everybody's on their phone, and you're driving, you can just find out if there's traffic, if you can take another way. If you didn't have that before, you just drive into the traffic, but now we know, okay, it's bad to drive, there's an accident on the way. So that's information. It's pretty helpful. The forest, Oshun Oshogbo, is actually a holy forest in Nigeria, and it's one of the forests where this is traditions where people go to into the forest to actually visit their deities. So they have like bronze gods in this forest, and they have like gods of this bronze is made in the entrance of the forest. So what they do is that the Ife chief actually goes into the forest with his people, and they conduct sacrifices, and those sacrifices to actually protect themselves and to tell them about time, about the future, what is going to happen in the past. These practices were very strong, and it helped to actually keep the Yoruba peoples very safe, and over the years, over time, and it's really been helpful to them because they live by their terms. And so the forest in Oshun-Oshogbo forest is actually it's a place for tourism. Tourists go there to visit. They have the holy water they get they fetch in the gallons and all that, and it's actually a nice place. But I think in the time in the past and the time now, there was so much respect for such forests, but now because of the lumbering, those forests are shrinking, which is sad, but it's just time. First of all, Abuja is the capital of Nigeria, so it's the main city of Nigeria. It used to be Lagos, but now it's Abuja, capital of Nigeria. If you go to Abuja, we have Zuma Rock. It's actually one of the biggest rock in the world, and it stands very tall. It's actually a nice place to visit, very beautiful. And then if you go into Abuja, you have the Games Village, and in that Games Village, beside the Games Village, they have a place where they make artworks, masks, very beautiful masks, very beautiful crafts, African crafts that if you visit Nigeria, you would want to get a hold of. And the crafts are handmade, and they're very beautiful and very authentic. They have even old crafts, and besides that, if you go to Abuja, they have a spring in Abuja, and lots of nice places you can visit if you go to Abuja. But because Abuja is a capital city, it doesn't have so many tourist places, but it's actually a place where tourists like to go to because Abuja is very beautiful. It's a very beautiful city, of course. But the few places you would want to travel and visit if you were a tourist is Obutukatu Ranch. It's very cold. So if you're in a temperate country, if you're from a temperate country and you wanted to travel to where you could actually relate to the weather, you would want to go to Obudu. The cable goes round through the whole forest because it's a very big, dense forest. So if you go through the cable, you see the whole forest, and Obudu Ranch is at the top of the mountain. It's a very beautiful place, lots of natural and artifacts. So you can buy artifacts, you can visit heritage places, and you can go places in Obudu. And you can also go to the Yankari Games Reserve, where you have animals, they have animals that endangered species, actually cordoned. It's actually a reserve, games reserve, where animals roam freely. You can go and see the tigers, the lions, the hippopotamus. If you go to Yankari, you can find that. And there are very beautiful places in Nigeria you can visit, and as a tourist, and you have a very good attraction. Death. I mean, who's not afraid of death? Who take a gun to the head now and say, hey, please shoot me? Very few people. So when we say afraid of death, most times it's like you want to die, but that's not the point. The point is not I want to die, kill me, or I want to jump in front of a train. But I feel being afraid of death is being afraid of the consequences of life, because life is hard. It doesn't matter if you live in the best economy in the world, life is hard. You're going to have conflict with your friends, with your parents, you're going to have relationship problems, and it could make you want to kill yourself. So not kill yourself literally, but you can make you feel like life is not worth it. And you could feel, life is so hard. Even though you have everything you want. You know, there are billionaires who commit suicide, and it's like, why? You have everything. So the purpose of life and death, it's like, okay, are you afraid of death? I can say no, but actually I could be afraid of death, because I wouldn't see a gun and go stand in front and want to die. I don't want to die, obviously, but I think death to me is not living to your full potential. Not living to your full potential could mean you running away from responsibility, staying in your comfort zone. And I think that's worse than death. I think that's the real death, because you could die before you die. And I think being afraid of death is being afraid of responsibility, being afraid of living, because living is hard. So I'm not afraid of responsibility. I'm not afraid of taking risk. I'm not afraid of tomorrow. If today is your last day on earth, you should be grateful, because you live the life that you're proud of. It shouldn't be that you're not afraid of death, then you want to die. So yes, I'm not afraid of the consequences of life, and I'm not afraid of tomorrow, or if there's no next year. You know, that's life. You know, you're not responsible for your life. So the thing is, we don't have. It's not a serious crisis like I see in other countries in Africa, but we have lots of poor people who live below the poverty line and They need food, they need water, they need clothes, and they have very hard lives, yes. And I can talk from where I'm coming from, because where I'm from, we have lots of farmers, people who are farmers. And they can go back to their farms, because you have bandits who go around with their cattle and they attack people who are farmers. So the farmers cannot stay in their farms. And it's bad, because if they can farm, they don't have to be poor. Because they can have food. I think the basic of life is shelter, clothes, and food. If you have those three, you should be fine. You know, if you want extra comfort, you know, of course everybody wants extra comfort, but if you have those basics, at least you should be okay. So if those people can just leave the farmers alone, so the farmers can stay in their farms, not attack them, it would be really nice. Poverty is a big problem in Africa. Lots of poor people, of course. And it's really sad, because now we have refugee camps getting attacked by bandits, because they hate the people in the refugee camps, and these are farmers. It's really sad. And these people in the refugee camps, they don't have food, they don't have clothes, because they can't farm. Obviously, if you trace me from where I work and my land, I cannot farm, I cannot eat, it's bad. So, you know, it's really sad. And sometimes I see a place like here and I say, oh, nice. I wish my people could just go back to their farm, you know, and just farm. That's what they want to do. They can eat. They can provide for themselves, sadly. And it's really bad for Africa, for Nigeria. You know, speaking for Nigeria, I think if we could actually help people, it would be good. They need help. They really need help. I don't think when people die, their soul dies. The soul never dies. Your soul can die when God condemns you to hell. Of course, I think if you die, your flesh dies, but your soul goes to God. From my teachings, of course. And if you go to God and you're a sinner, you go to a bad place, and from hell you can die. God can kill your soul and your body, but I don't think your body and your soul can be killed by man. I think a man can only kill your body. You can only die physically, you can die Your soul can die. Only God can kill your soul. I may be wrong, but that's what I think. Heaven and hell. Heaven is a place where God's people are going to go to. So if you're God's people, you're going to heaven. It's a very beautiful, nice place. The very beautiful mansions, the floors, the roads are made of gold. Very nice. But hell, on the other hand, is a condemnable fire for the enemy of God. The people who are bad people, the evil people are all going to hell. And it's not the place that you would want to go to, because from what I understand, it's infinity, and if your soul is going to get killed, you're going to hell. So it's not a nice place. Hell is a very bad place. But besides the concept of heaven and hell, there's still heaven and hell on earth. You could actually be on earth and live like you're in hell, and some people live on earth like, not like heaven, but good life. I think most people will consider good life heaven and bad life as hell. So heaven is a place where God's people, his people, go to, and hell is the opposite.
Do you afraid to be in hell?
I don't want to go to hell. I want to go to heaven. Good in life. Good is being nice, being helpful, being empathic, being responsible. Good is being good, and generally in life, one ought to be good to your neighbor, to your children, to your parents. And you have my country, where we have people who are not being treated fairly. You have people who are farmers. My people are farmers. I'm Tiv by tribe, and from Tiv land we are farmers, and you have the opposite happening to them, which is evil. Evil is sin, when something is bad, evil, wicked. And you have your farmers. You can go to your farm, because these Fulani headsmen, I call them that because you can be a Fulani man. You don't have to be a Fulani headsman. You don't have to carry a gun and fight a farmer because you want to roam your cattle. Your cattle want to feed, and because of that you have to kick them out of their lands. So it's really sad, because this evil is being perpetrated and nothing is being done about it. Because if you have people in government, you can do anything you want. It's really sad. I just hope it ends, because it's evil, and evil is anything that is wicked, malicious, evil, wicked, and we don't want that. My people deserve good, because they are farmers. They should have that. And if we can get humanitarian people to come assist these people, it's in the capital, people are being attacked. It's really bad. If you're not safe in the capital of a state, it's very bad, because somebody hates you and thinks they want to kill you because you're a target, because you have a farmland and they want to take their cattle to go feed on the farmland. It's very bad. And in the capital, I think if the humanitarians could come to see what's happening, at least for now, help these people in the refugee camps with food, clothing, and shelter, because they live in deplorable states. Some of them can't actually even have a roof above their head. It's really bad. If we can get help, it will really count. It will really be useful. It will really count this moment. God exists, and God is the reason why we're here. I don't think we came here as a result of a Big Bang, because if we came here as a result of a Big Bang, we would have been aliens. Maybe I have a hand sticking out of my butt right now. Everybody would look different, because white or black, we're all the same. If you look at language structure, if you travel and you learn language, you find out these people all create the same kind of structure or language learning, and they talk in the same kind of function. So these are the same people. If it was a Big Bang that made that, we would have been totally different. Maybe I would have a horn on my head, and I'll be. So I think it's actually a deliberate act that God made this whole universe and made us here, and it's not by mistake. I don't feel it came as a result of some scientific. I think God made the earth, made us in the earth. From me, I think the purpose of God is we have a higher being, somebody who made this whole earth, and you can reach out to God for understanding, for guidance about life, for hope, and the purpose of God is to help us, because if you have everything you want, most times you start to think God doesn't exist. So when you travel to countries where they have everything, they start to live very comfortably. they start to think maybe God doesn't exist. But when you go through hardships, you go back to God, because the purpose of God is to keep you, to know that you have somebody that made you. You didn't make yourself. And I feel God is, to me, is my rock, is my helper, is someone that keeps me going. It helps me in tough times and just carries me when I'm broken. And I think God exists, and God is love. Right, if you get to Abuja, you're coming from Kaduna, you're going to see Zuma Rock by the left. If you're coming from Kaduna, and it's a very big, one of the biggest rocks in Africa, and it's a very beautiful monument, and it's actually a rock that was formed millions of years ago. We don't know when it was formed. Thousands of years ago, we don't know when it was formed, but it's actually a very nice entry when you're coming into Abuja from Kaduna. It's a very beautiful sight to behold, and it's just there. Lots of tourists go there, take pictures, and it's a place you should visit. Zuma Rock is a very beautiful monument. You should go to Zuma Rock.
Did you see by yourself the Zuma
Many
Rock?
times. I was there. I went to Zuma Rock last 2 years ago. Most artifacts in Nigeria, such as Zuma Rock, they always come with like ancestral being around it, and it's always mysterious. Like on Zuma Rock, there's like, you see like faces, like shapes of nose, eye, head, like on the Zuma Rock, you know. And because we're Christians, most times we don't go too close to things like that. We just look at it from a distance, and so I never get on Zuma Rock or get too close. If I drive around, I could stop, take a look, take pictures, but I don't go too close. But on Zuma Rock, obviously, it has a strange being. Just like Olumo Rock, we also have Olumo Rock in Nigeria, and it's a rock, a very big rock that is being supported by a tiny little edge on the bottom, and you don't know how that rock's gonna get formed and stay in that position. Just like Zuma Rock, you don't know how it will form. So most of those kind of rocks, they have a spirit being around it, and it's always mysterious. And in the past, the people used to go do sacrifices on those rocks. I don't know, maybe they still do. Yeah, I think everybody has a freedom of choice. Everybody has freedom of choice. It doesn't matter where you're from, where you come from, but we don't have freedom of consequences. So you can do whatever you want. You can choose to go slap a police officer. You can deal with whatever happens later. You can drive a car through traffic and get a speeding ticket. It's your consequences. Do what you want, but it doesn't mean you're not responsible for the consequences. So yeah, we have freedom, but it comes at a price. It's not free of charge. Love is kind, love is gentle, love is not envious, love is not boastful. It's from the Bible. To me, I feel love is actually having an affection for people that you find dear and near to your heart. And you know, you have your mother, you have your brothers, your family. That's where love starts from, because that's when you start to actually start caring about people. That's the earliest you can remember about love before you think about, okay, I love my girlfriend, I love my wife. You know, so I think it's really sad, because my mother is an entrepreneur. She's a farmer, and she stays in the city but has farms, and she cannot use those farms because the conflicts around those areas, and it hurts me, you know, because that's what she loves to do. And if you love your people, you want to see them excel in what they do, you know. So to me, I feel it's really sad that I cannot make her have what she wants. You know, when I come to, I look at, okay, maybe I can give her more, you know, because everybody, it's just instinct that you love your mother, you love your father, you love your brothers. But there's still more love sometimes. You know, there's a girl you love, I've loved, and it's really heartbreaking sometimes when you get heartbroken. And love comes at a price, because you're putting yourself out there, you're putting your heart at risk, you're putting everything at risk, and that's what love is all about. Love is about knowing that someone has you no matter what the situation, no matter how good, bad, they'll always be by your side. It's love for me. Love is beautiful. God is a person. God is not a human being, but he's a person. You know? I think God is the brightest person ever. Why? Have you read the Bible? Read the Bible. God is the brightest. I mean, every problem in this world is everything you go through is in the Bible. No normal person can actually compete. I don't know. Is there any book you want to compare with the Bible? I don't know. None. And do you think anybody can be smart enough to make all this? I don't think. It's only God. God is ever powerful, everything. I think it's. But sometimes I think we think maybe God is not the person. God is just God. Okay, we have people around us, but everybody is controlled by flesh, and their desires and their wants. And some people can actually betray their brothers. Cain killed Abel, because of flesh. Just maybe I want to eat more. I want to have everything, sad. But God doesn't care about physical things. So God is God, and God is the best. Brightest moment was I moved into my apartment I was building. It took me 4 years to build the apartment. It was very rough. Before I moved into the apartment, my landlord called me and said, "You have to leave the apartment." And it was crazy because I was really trying to finish the house, and he said, "You have to leave." So I had till the end of the month. And I did everything I could to actually leave that day because he didn't want me in that apartment. So that day, the 30th of the month, I packed everything I had and drove to my apartment, and I put my bed on the ground, and I slept in a very ugly house because it wasn't arranged. Everything was scattered, but it was the greatest feeling in the world that I did what I wanted to do for a long time. So it was the greatest moment of my life. Yeah, I think we all have bad moments, and sometimes we wish some things never happened. And I've never really looked at it like I wish they didn't happen, because we cannot control. Your wishes has nothing to do with what has happened. It has happened. I lost my sister, and it was one of the saddest moments in my life because we were very close, and she just died. I didn't expect her to die. And the worst part was when she was very sick, I was afraid of being close to her because I couldn't look at her in the condition she was, because she lost weight and she was just looking very not nice. And if I were to go back, I probably would have stayed through the whole ugly situation, because sometimes it's like, oh, I don't want to see you in this condition, but you're my person, and if that's your condition, I should be with you all through. So I wish I stayed with her and I did not run away, So I think, to me, it's sad, and it's what I wish I did different. She got really sick and she had a stroke. So, so of course, she's much older than me. She's probably maybe 20 years older, but of course we're close. But the thing is, when she had the stroke, it affected her thinking. So she wasn't sane. She was acting weird and strange. So it wasn't like she was totally aware of everything, and so it just happened. She just deteriorated and died. I don't know. Oh, so you mean like someone I would want to talk to in the future?
Yep. About eternal questions like what I ask you. Yeah.
I think 100% Warren Buffett. 100% Warren Buffett. If I have, it's going to be crazy because you can find everything you need about him speaking on YouTube, but it would be really nice to meet Warren Buffett. I think I'm an entrepreneur, so I think he's one of the greatest entrepreneurs ever, and the way he thinks, the way he conducts himself, and I would really wish I could speak and ask him internal questions like this. Definitely.
Why you respect him?
First of all, he's a contrarian. Contrarians are people who do things differently. They don't do things like everybody else. And it's very common. Everybody wants to be like everybody, wants to do what everybody else is doing. But when you see somebody that is actually doing business and doing it in a totally different way, and it's been very successful, if you check Berkshire Hathaway, and you find the stocks of Berkshire Hathaway, in when Berkshire Hathaway started as compared to today, you'll realize that the growth of the stock and came from his internal knowledge because of what he knows, which is value investing. Value investing is I want to put money, and in life most times it's very difficult to invest. If you say, oh, put money in Sphere Bank, put money in the shares of MTC, MTS, it's going to be difficult because you can think, I don't know where this company is going to be 10 years from now. Buy Bitcoin. I don't know what Bitcoin is going to be in 30 years from now. But if you have an idea of value investing, like Warren, you would know that you shouldn't put money on Bitcoin. Why? Because it doesn't have any utility. Yes, it's actually a big pyramid scheme of the whole world. Yes, but it doesn't have value, and that's where value investing is everything. Because Warren Buffett does value investing, which is putting money in companies that have potential to have more value in the next 50 years and buying them at the point where they are valueless. So if you look at the company, if you can check the records and see the way the company is organizing, the way they're structured, you can find out that this company has potential. The structure of the management, the structure of the way they do business, the way they conduct themselves, the way they handle customers, customer relationship, you could actually predict this company is going to do very well in the next 30 years. And you find, okay, this company is really in a bad place now. They need money. That's the company that you should put your money into. Because if they're actually doing very well, then they don't need your money. So if you put your money in that company at that point, you're a gold mine. You have a gold mine there, because in the future, when it actually manifests, the company becomes very big, you will be in good money. So I think that's one thing I like about Warren, because he knows how to identify those companies. And if you read about Warren, he said, don't buy Bitcoin. So I'm not just saying don't buy Bitcoin. Warren also said it. I'm so good now, Mama. So I never go key so bido kind of when you on and don't bido come so nechi never did do ga kwa gaga on the say so nechi